Good evening, Dr. Ruppel. Good evening, colleagues. My name is Manella, and Team D's presentation addresses generational age gaps in organizations that lead to conflict, miscommunication, and bias. Our mission is to create an organization where every employee, in spite of age, can thrive and turn these differences into strengths. We would like to create a collaborative conflict culture where employees can come together and solve problems for the benefit of everyone involved. We would like to embrace and a more adaptable leadership style where we can ensure that the specific needs of the follower and the situation is being met. We will dive deeper into what is known as the ACORN imperatives, which provides a framework for recognizing the unique challenges of a multi generational workforce and enable the organization to achieve sub, sustainable performance, increase productivity, and an enhanced stakeholder satisfaction. Moving forward, we would like to increase the performance that our organization achieves. In a Frontiers of Psychology article by Wang and Duan, they talk about how diversity, especially age diversity, leads to the creation of something known as the in group and the out group. We would like everyone in our organization to be part of this in group if possible. Also, it talks about age diversity leading to a more productive and high performing organization. So, moving forward, as we dive deeper into ACORN imperatives and all the ways that we can improve our organization, we must first look at the issues. And to do that, I'm going to turn over to Victoria.
Thank you, Manila. So, some of the stigmas and issues that occur in the workplace when we focus on generational age gaps between employees are lazy versus old school stereotypes, different expectations of professionalism, technology speed gaps that create frustrations between the employees, and the older generations creating a stigma around the younger generations. When looking at communication and work style between older and younger generations, younger employees may prefer to get their work done on the computer rather than in person. They would rather stay home and do everything online, while the older employees would rather go to work in person, sit at the desk, do things with a pen and paper rather than on a computer. Technological advancements are in favor of younger employees. The younger employees tend to be able to adapt quicker to changes, while the older employees tend to be resistant to change and don't adapt as quickly. Another thought about the generational age gaps is that older employees tend to resist change. They prefer to keep what they know, and younger employees tend to thrive in change and are able to find newer and maybe even faster ways of doing things and getting things done. The problem with this is that older generational employees may see this and label the young workers as lazy or maybe not performing as well as the older ones are since their ways are different. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are bad. It's just different than the way that the older employees are used to. Stereotyping is a common stigma around the younger employees as well. A personal example that I have is being part of a team in a hospital. I work a lot with older employees, younger employees, and everyone assumes that the younger employees don't know things, even though that they may know something, but they were just taught differently than how the older employees were. Um, Age discrimination is a huge thing in the workplace. It's one of the largest problems that occur with having large organizations like hospitals, schools, banks, more and more. There's bound to be employees of all ages, and whether you're 25, 45, or 75, all of the employees that are working together deserve to be treated with respect and are given and deserve to be given the same opportunities as their peers, regardless of their age. With all of this, I'm going to refer to Stasa, and she will go over some of the solutions for these problems.
Excellent job, Victoria. Thank you. I was able to find dynamic actions to take to close the awkward generational age gap in the workplace. It's called the ACORN Imperatives, as outlined in their book, Generations at Work by Ron Zemke, Claire Rains, and Bob Philpsack. Accommodate, create choices, operate, respect, and nourish. These are common approaches making the workplace environments generationally comfortable. So first up, we have accommodate. Now, you might think that there's a lot of differences across the 5 generations currently in the workplace, but core values like the desire to work in a friendly environment, to communicate respectfully from top to bottom across all employees in the organization, those tend to remain consistent. It's the individual preferences where you see the difference. So a lot of the differences that Victoria had mentioned kind of flow or fill into that individual preference bucket. The desire to work from home versus working on site, or working collaboratively versus autonomously. And companies that truly want to be generationally friendly can make an honest effort to accommodate these preferences while fostering a real equilibrium between them. Next is create choices. So with less of a focus and attention on bureaucracy and appealing more towards a decentralized, organic work structure, things like authority and power, they become less of an intimidation, and there's more of an invited openness to share ideas, communicate openly, and it also helps to mitigate the risk of groupthink. Fostering a more playful, informal way to communicate can also be a nice change up and a nice way to break up any barriers between the generations. Operate. We want to operate at a sophisticated management style. So because there are different approaches to the work across multi-generations, managers should be more outcome focused rather than process oriented. Leading with varied situational leadership, as in Robert House's path goal theory of leadership, where different leadership styles are applied based on the needs or specific situations. This can create a more smooth, stress-free environment, and everyone is less walking on their toes and a little bit more comfortable. Now, additionally, I would like to mention the success of a 9-9 team leadership style. There's a high concern for people, and there's a high concern for results and production, which is really nice. The next imperative is respect. In my opinion, respect is the most important imperative because we all want to feel respected, especially in the workplace. So by manifesting good intentions of people, treating everyone in the organization from the newest recruit to the most seasoned employee as if they have something truly wonderful to offer the organization, helps employees to do the best possible work. Communication and cooperation will be seamless, and it'll entice a more collaborative conflict style should any issues arise. Nourish. Now, nourish has 2 parts. We want to nourish the work, provide lots of training so that employees can harness appropriate skills and have the confidence to be empowered, and they will want to grow within the organization, thus retention will be preserved. And we want to nourish the people. We want to recognize that there's a difference in personal wellness, so we want to sell varied benefits to appeal to a multi-generational workforce. And aside from these ACORN imperatives, I wanted to suggest a change of symbols, particularly the artifacts or shared stories. By changing these up, we can initiate a new culture of celebrated age diversity. And for example, we can share a successful story of like a two-way learning where you have the traditional mentorship of a seasoned employee sharing institutional knowledge to a new recruit, and also reverse mentoring, where you have, let's say, someone of a younger generation sharing emerging trends and technologies that can help everyone in the workplace. So with that, I will pass it over to my colleague Matteo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stasha. Great job. So I'm going to go ahead and explain why the solutions we chose actually work when it comes to generational differences in the workplace. So obviously, starting off, different age groups bring different values. This is more than understood, and even work styles are those are the same that have changed over time. Zemk, Rains, and Filczak mentioned this in Generations at Work. Each generation, as we obviously know, grew up in a way much different time period. So it makes sense that they'd communicate differently, they'd work differently, they have different work ethics, and in general, they are very different. That's the underlying word. And obviously, that would be where most of the misunderstandings would start. Our solutions, we think, work because they directly support those differences instead of ignoring them. We understand that this is a very clear line of not an issue, but something we would need to strongly reinforce because of the fact that we are dealing with workers that, as we've said before, are from different periods completely. Even me being so young, I would still say that compared to the younger generation, there's some things that, even then would be changing now. We understand that when communication is open and people need to when people obviously need to explain what they need, what they are trying to look for in a job, what they're trying to look for in a work culture. When these things get explained, it makes understanding flow so much more quicker overall, and it strongly reinforces at the same time. But overall, it just helps the other person entirely understand where the other person is coming from. So both parties are always on the same contextual basis. Another reason we believe that these solutions will work is of leadership adaptability. As we've heard before within our issue segment, or at the same time in Stasha's segment, coming with the different mentorship or different leadership styles or individualities, people are truly noticeably going to be better working off if they are positively motivated, or if they feel that they have this certain structure they desire, whether or not they have much more freedom in their job. So when all these different factors are taken into account by managers, it not only does it make the person or the individuals feel more supported and not judged, it just reduces conflict all around and just in general just promotes coexistence, as we've been mentioning before, between the two groups. Mixing generations on teams is a very important, I would say, prospect to keep in mind when it comes to the workplace in general. We understand how the older generation brings their experience, but now the younger generations are truly the ones who bring the creative side of things, and those who, instead of planning more towards the present, which they are very good at, they will be going on ahead and planning already for the future. So, having this little, this assembled group of individuals with their different abilities is very much, I would say, very much a positive style of doing things, and in general it'll balance things out and it won't force anything. Everything will be much more natural. So now, obviously, with all this being said, going back to our focus question, how do generational age gaps contribute to misunderstandings or conflict? It mostly happens just because of people's different values, people's different work styles, people's different motivations. These solutions work because of the fact that they understand everyone and, in general, emphasize the fact that we need to communicate more in order to get more out of everyone. And overall, we think that throughout this presentation, we have made it clear that it just makes the workplace go so much more smoother, and it just ends up being much more fair to everyone, and in general, just happy days. So that's really the main idea. The differences don't go away, but the solutions make them easier to work with. So, well, with having said that, here would be our references page. That would be the end of our presentations. We do hope you have enjoyed it, and have a great afternoon. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear this. Have a great day.